Welcome to the Redvee TV show, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2024 season. As we finish the last of our 2024 player reviews, we're going to smash them out in one go because we're bored of doing
Seemed like a good idea when we started it, didn't it?
Right then, we're bored of doing it. You're bored of watching it.
Let's go from number 21 then.
Rank honesty, number 21, Ben Davies.
I think we've said everything we need to pretty much about Ben Davies. I think he made the same number of appearances this season as he did the season before. He's probably not necessarily happy with that. He's been 18th man an awful lot. I think he would do well for getting a run in the side in one position rather than flitting across three in a game like he had to against Lee. I think it was, or at least two in a game against Lee. I think you're always going to have that section of the fan base who can't be civil. And it seems like he's the one who's getting the brunt of it. By the civil things, I just mean absolutely no opinion there, or no actual thought opinion there, just absolute rubbish. If you don't think he's a good player, fine. We've said this time and time again. Don't think he's a good player, fine. Don't think he's Saints quality, fine. But when it comes to the personal stuff, or comes to some of the absolute dross that we read, comments on here, comments on social media, it's beyond the pale and it's just not on.
No. My biggest issue with Ben Davies, and I'm not sure who it was who said it in the comments, if he's meant to be your utility player, why weren't we using him as that when we had so many injuries? Why did he not make more appearances? And we've renewed his deal for 2025 as a utility player. Where do his appearances come, or is he there for his squad value for running against us in training, for example?
Yeah, he probably is. He probably is there for that. You're right. I mean, we picked up the thing in the centres. I think we've pretty much run with everyone bar him at centre. But the stuff like Matt Whitley played one game there, Joe Batchelor played one game there, but that's because Ben Davies was playing the halves. He's not getting in ahead of Percy. He's not getting in ahead of Connie. He's then not getting in ahead of an NRL waged centre, is what I'm going to call him. You look in the second rows, we were well stocked. You look at half back, and we were pretty much well stocked there, and we've got more creative players than Ben. Which is, it's no disrespect to him, but Jack Welsby is going to slot into your halves first, isn't he? Harry Robertson is the new talent on the block, so he's going to fit into one. And because Ben Davies plays a bit of centre, a bit of standoff, a bit of second row, it's almost whenever I think that not the injuries have come up, he's been unlucky, but I think there's just been players there kind of ahead of him. And we've been all right in that position that he's been needed. That's why he's been 18th man an awful lot. And it probably is the utility value of him being 18th man and being able to fit in a couple of positions if we ever needed to get to that, that keeps him at the club. Yeah, he's going to want to do better. Yeah, fans are going to want to see him do better. But I think for now, he's got a tough season ahead because it's almost like the Sam Royal thing of he needs to push through. We're light in the centres. He needs to be he needs to push through. Whether he's got the ability or not, I'll let people comment in the like below and on social media. They can do that to the heart's content. Um, I don't think we've seen it in a Saints shirt for you to kind of think it's definitely going to happen.
Okay. 23, Conrad Hall. 15 appearances in 2024 before his season was curtailed with his injury. Um, we don't have the news on what's happening with him in 2025 so far. He hasn't been released. Awaiting results of a medical before we make a call on whether we give him a 12-month extension. Is he worth that for you?
Let's just go with what we're doing and reviewing this season to start off with. I think he's brilliant going forward on the front foot. gives us that grunt from the centres, gives you them meters after contact carrying. As far as the contract goes going forward, I'd hope we're looking at the markets. I think he looks like he's great round the training ground. He's great for the lads. He is good enough to play Super League, but I'm not sure that we need to carry his defensive liability there. And we're looking at bringing a bit of pace and a bit of difference. Possibly now's the time to move on.
Yeah, he'll be 34 next season. And is he at the point in his career when you do get an injury, they're usually longer term ones? They're harder to shake off, or has he just been a little bit unlucky?
He may well have been unlucky. I think if it wasn't quarter, I'd be saying, yeah, you give him another deal. You definitely are giving him another deal. You activate the +1. But because the quarter rules don't come in where you've played 6 years of Super League, they don't come in until the season after next season. I don't think we can carry that. I don't think we can carry a quarter player who isn't definitely in your 17. The state of, as we just mentioned, the state of the centres at the club shows that we're very light through there at the minute. We've got young lads coming through who haven't played an awful lot of first team rugby. Got second rowers who can fit in there. I think you need someone who is definitely going to get you through the season and is, I don't know, maybe a little bit different. We've got to look at a different style of playing. I know that's probably another episode, but for everything he brings, I think that quarter player just leans me to the way of thanks, Conrad, for everything you've done at the club. But I would probably be saying there's a job here with the community foundation or something within the club if you wanted to keep him there, but it wouldn't necessarily be a playing contract just because he's quarter.
Would he be cheaper to employ him to DJ the Christmas dues?
Pass, but I think it'll put Marble Eyes out of a lot of money if they had a DJ rather than a band.
Number 24, Jake Burns, one of the biggest winners from the 2024 season.
Yeah, he probably didn't think he was going to play as much as he did do. I've not looked back at the preview we did for him. I meant to have a look back at the preview that we did for him. But I don't think we'd have expected him to kind of get as much action as he did. I think there's obviously players who get shoehorned in at 9, but he's shown that he's good at doing that, and he needs that extra pre-season. He needs to kind of get his fitness levels up and up again. I'm not blaming him for miles fitter than I am. But you could see that he couldn't quite do like the 18. He was better, almost like James Bell, better coming off the bench and bringing that energy to a team that needs it. But I think he's had a great season. Good on the lad. And I think that he definitely cemented his place in the top 25 for next year as well.
Yeah, I think that the biggest compliment I think you can give him is that he gained the trust, not only
Yeah.
of the coaching staff, but of the fans as well. So there wasn't a murmur when he was to be included in that 17. His distribution was great, and at
Yeah.
times it helped speed us up. And it'd be interesting to see next season. Obviously, Darrell Clark's going to be getting a little bit older, Moses and By. Whether you use Jake Burns as that interchange hooker just to give spell for 15, 20 minutes in games.
I think all things being equal, you're going to get injuries and suspension, so he will get his time there because we may have to fit Moses in at 7 instead, we'll say, for example. So he will get his time, and it's I hope he does, because as you say, he got the trust of the staff and the fans. Fans were disappointed, genuinely disappointed, when he missed out on 17th, because he was showing that he was good enough and keeping that match sharpness and that fitness up. So he's at that level was key. And I think he's had a great season. He can look back on that, on the last season, as one of our players who can hold his head up high.
T. Ritson, major disappointment. If he was going to come through and prove to be a first team player, this was the year he was going to be able to do it. And I think his time has gone.
Uh, Fair enough. I think you run back to our previews and you mentioned T. Ritson, and I think you said that he was going to start the season. I didn't necessarily disagree with that. Um, I think T. Ritson has the issue that some fans think that he's the best thing since sliced bread and the best winger at the club. I think I actually saw that on social media as well. I mean, Tommy Makinson must be an ice cream man. But even though he's not here anymore. But yeah, it's been so disappointing for him. He had to waste his time to get in the team. He ended up with Blake ahead of him on the wing an awful lot, who was signed as a centre. He's just he's had to bide his time, and then when he's come in, there's been games where I think he's been unlucky, and then there's games where I just think that because he's not come through almost like the academy system or the traditional route, and he's coming to the full time arena later. Maybe that's an issue. I'm only surmising, but maybe just an issue defensively, and he's just never had that ball to let him get off on the front foot. But as I say, he's got the problem where some fans don't think he's good enough. Some fans think he's brilliant. When the reality is he's somewhere in the middle of all that.
Yeah, as you alluded to, we said at the start of the season we thought we'd give him a run. John Bennison got his chance. There was times that we wavered on John Bennison and thought that it was time for T to have a go and get his chance. Didn't take it. John Bennison came back into the team and for me, firmly cemented his place over him. Um, Obviously now next season, signings coming in. John Bennison's ahead of him. Owen Dagnall is likely to be a first squad player next season and get his chance at some point. And I wonder whether we will actually be doing a player preview of T or whether we'll try and move him on for the final year of his contract. The, the lad needs to play rugby, and I just don't think it's going to be at this club.
Yeah, you need a squad and you need to have options, but I think with all the different options you can go with on the wing, like I think Harry Robertson, it's been alluded to that he'll probably go through the same Jack Wellsby route where you end up playing a lot more out on the wing and then you play a little bit at centre and then you get a shot at six and you know what I mean, like he'll bounce about the team a little bit, but he may well go ahead of T Ritson just to get him games, just to kind of develop him and improve him at men's rugby. Yeah, with T, the lad needs to play. He does need to play at this stage of his career. Um, he needs games. You're right. We've got what Carl Felt, Lewis Murphy, John Bennison, Harry Robertson, Dale Sambu, Owen Dagnall, who can all play on the wing. Do you try and save a wage? And I know people will say, well, why did we sign him for 2 years? It was probably the thing of we can see something here. Once he gets his chance, he's got to take it. And if he takes it, then we've got him tied down to another year. And if he doesn't, then he's not expensive. But I don't know how many wingers you're going to keep on your books because it's very telling that we've got out and signed two.
Correct. Johnny Vaughan, um, got the odd game this year. Did well in part, but I think his time is still to come.
Yeah, exactly. When we talk about like lads who come through the academy, I think the hope is everyone makes it and not everybody does. Um, and I think if you looked at John's season this year, he's been kind of like bit parts. So he's come in, been on the bench, started a couple of games, even played nine rather than centre or second row where we were expecting him. And you're right that probably on this season, he's done well and he's done well enough for next year. But his time's in the future. I think that Johnny will be one of those who is in the Saints squad for the next couple of years. I think he's got the right attitude. I think he's got the skill to do it. It's all down to him, obviously. Absolutely down to him in what he does and in keeping a level head and keeping improving. Yeah. But he provides you that that ability to fit in a couple of positions and get on with it. And he's played in what has been a poor team this year, and at times looked lively, looked like he wants to just go out and play rugby. Stands him in good stead. Um, he can be happy with this year as long as he's looking to build and build and build in the future.
Yeah, real mature young man. I think the important thing for Johnny is going to be for the club, is to decide where he's going to play.
Yes, yeah, yeah, agree.
He doesn't want to become a utility man. They need to decide where his best position is, and that is where he plays, and give him his
Yeah,
chance to come in and have them games in a first choice team.
yes, yeah, exactly. Like we've not done one for Sam Royal here, but almost like the Sam Royal thing of he's never been surrounded by first team players. By having, say, 12 of your first choice 13 player and you fit into that. And hopefully Johnny will get that chance. He's a top young fella as well. We've spoken to him a couple of times. Absolutely top young fella. And listen, he's got his head screwed on. He knows what he needs to do. I think it was relief when he broke the duck of. I think he played quite a few games and hadn't got the win, and he got over the line. Was it Huddersfield? I think. So hopefully, John, your next couple of Saints appearances will have green W's in them rather than red L's.
Just make sure when you have your photo taken next season, you make sure the sponsor on your kit is fully visible.
If that's the worst thing that's happened to you this season, John, then fair play.
Number 31, Redvee's Noah Stevens. Another of the big winners this season. Probably played a lot more than I think anybody would have envisaged. But when he did play, he took his opportunity, and it's going to stand in real good stead ahead of next season.
Yeah, definitely. Again, looking back on the season and looking forward, I think he has been one of the standout young players. Not just saying it because we sponsor him. I genuinely think there was the makings of a really, really good season there. I think he's done brilliantly. So much so that the conversations were being had towards the end of the season. Why is Noah Stevens being left out? Um, and I think that some of the prop forwards that we've got, and it may be the likes of, say, Iggy Parsi or Alex Walmsley, even, if you're not holding your form, no matter whether you are your number 8 or your number 17 or whatever, there's a bank of prop forwards who are going to want to play. Noah's got the taste of first team rugby now and not looked massively out of place. Might be tougher next year. We'll speak about that when we do the play previews um, with his second season. But again, another young lad like Johnny Vaughan, who's got his head screwed on, knows that he just needs to knuckle down, work hard, and keep getting them little bits of improvement in his game. But when you've got a player, I think it was against Lee when he was still stood up, taking players with him. We didn't look to have that an awful lot last year. You've got different types of prop forwards, and we didn't have that where you just had someone who was tiring defenses out by carrying them with him. And hopefully he gets as many games as he can next year without the burnout that can come from the clamour to get players in the team, like mentioned George Delaney at the start of this year.
I know we've spoke about potential burnout in young players. Is there an argument that we underutilized Noah a little bit, especially off the interchange bench, where he was sometimes only coming on for 10-minute spells, and could have got bigger minutes? It was almost like it was predefined. This is what he's going to play, but no matter what impact he had, he still only got that time.
Yeah, possibly it might have been managed to get the fitness into him, to get the match sharpness again into him. But yeah, when you've got prop forwards doing 80 minutes, you'd think that you could make your substitutions or interchanges or whatever you want to call them, you could make them work so Noah Stevens does 2 10-minute stints to give someone a break. So you're not burning them out. So instead of doing 80 minutes, you're doing 70 minutes. It's only 10 minutes, but if you can take 10 minutes out of 8 different games, you've got that a bit more freshness. I'm not saying you're going to get an extra game out of the likes of Matty Lees, but you've got that little bit more freshness that he's not had to take 2 or 3 carries, make 5, 6 tackles. He's just had to go sit down, get on that bike, keep his legs moving, and let Noah go on, or whoever's on the interchange bench, whoever you're swapping with. But yeah, in Noah's case, maybe he could have done an extra couple of minutes here and there, and that might have helped the team out. And that's no fault of Noah's.
Yeah, I know we've got him down as making 14 appearances, but I'm sorry, Noah. That 2.5 minute cameo at Huddersfield. Uh, I'm afraid we're going to strike that from your record.
Yeah, fair.
Harry Robertson, another bright spark who, at the start of the year, we probably didn't think we were going to see, but when he came into the team, looked like he could have an exciting future.
Can you just cross that number 2 out and put a 3 on it? Because that'll do me head in.
You're moaning, get.
Well, he's number 33.
Happy now?
Yes.
See, he's had that good a year. I moved him up a squad position and demoted Paul Leon.
Yeah, I'm happier now. Well, he was at full time at the start of the year, was he? So he's someone who's coming and there'll be lots of questions asked, and have been already with our signings of where we're going to play Harry Robertson. He's a young kid. He's coming. Looking back at the last season, has he made mistakes? Yes, he has. You can't get away from the fact that he has made some errors. You've got to expect that from a young kid playing a high pressure position. I think back to Jack Wellsby playing fullback against London at London. Had a bit of a shocker of a game. Ended up with Matty Costello finishing the game at fullback. Jack being taken off. All parts of the learning curve. And if he does something like the Jack Wellsby method of coming in, playing a bit of wing, playing a bit of centre, a bit of 6, a bit of 1, and he kind of learns about all their positions in a higher standard of rugby, he'll do well for that. But I think he's looked lively. He's looked the most likely. You think back to was it Ben Davis's try against Lee, where he broke and then put the kick in, had the presence of mind. Don't have that taken out your game, Harry. Let's keep that live while you're kind of thinking of not just taking the tackle and hoping you've got players coming up with you. Have a look at what's in front of you and just play that.
Which rugby league legend does he remind you of? In look, when you look at his face, on his head.
None. What about you?
Jonathan Thurston.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
It's the haircut. It looks like he's robbed
Yeah.
Jonathan Thurston's hairdo.
Okay.
This is a reminder.
Listen,
If you want to go and read our interview with Jonathan Thurston when we met him, feel free.
Yeah.
DT,
Yeah.
friend of Redvee.
He is as well. Nice fella. Listen, that's not a bad comparison to have. I'm not going to quite go there just yet, but not a bad comparison.
I'm not saying he's the same player, but it's the haircut. Anyway.
Listen, I'm just going to clip that and put that out.
Sneak peek of the next episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We are done. We're not going to cover anybody else, even young George Whitby, because he only played once.
You'll hear about it all. You'll hear about it all in his preview.
Yeah.
Means you've got to listen to his preview.
Does that mean we're back next season?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.